Today on the Morning Edition, the veto stands. A bill to boost school funding gets schooled in Juneau, while Alaska lawmakers said no to a $1,000 per student increase. Plus,
Pope Francis returns to the people. I'm Tina Kraus at St. Peter's Basilica, where the pontiff will now lie in state.
We also detail the latest on the findings of the Pope's replacement and show you the front runners. And later, we take a look at this. A toddler vanishes into the Arizona wilderness, and it's not a drone, a deputy, or a detective that finds him. The story of a missing boy, a miracle, and Buford, the dog who earned his place as a legend, as the Morning Edition starts now.
what a story. I remember that. We had that last week. So
that is such a sweet story.
Yeah,
I love the story so much. We get to learn a little bit more about Buford today.
I know. And speaking of today, nice day, you were mentioning before the start of the newscast.
Yeah, today may be one of the nicest, if not the nicest day we've seen all year long, as we're going to break into the 50s. Of course, we are waking up this morning. We've got that cloud coverage still with us across South Central. But as we progress through the day, those clouds will begin to break away, and we'll see that sunshine making a return to at least inland areas of South Central. We're currently sitting at 36 degrees. Still can't rule out some spotty showers across South Central, but most of what we're seeing will primarily stay confined towards coastal areas. You can see out towards Kachemak Bay area surrounding Homer, seeing some of that spotty to isolated activity. And yes, we're still seeing some spotty showers as you head out towards Kanig, Wasilla, and areas of the Palmer-Wasilla Highway, likely dealing with some of that light rain showers this morning. Temperatures in the 20s and the 30s, a lot quieter activity taking hold across South Central, considering the past couple of days we have been a bit on the wetter side. But you can see how that rain still tapering off across the region. Some of those higher elevations of the Anchorage, Eagle River hillside, and even higher up could see some of that light wintry mix, where we're seeing those temperatures sitting in the low to mid 30s. And then as you head out towards southwest Alaska, we're also seeing things beginning to dry out. More widespread rain building in towards southeast. This is where we're going to see most of the impacts today, where we could hold on to some of that heavier rainfall. Over the last 48 hours, we have seen up to a ½ an inch of rainfall in some of those harder hit locations. And then over the next about 24 hours, you can see some of that heavier activity will continue to build in across southeast, where there is that potential we could see up to an inch plus of rainfall in some of those harder hit locations. And we're still holding on to the chance across parts of South Central that we could see some of that spotty to isolated activity, but the overall trend is drier weather. And we're talking about temperatures warming quite nicely as we welcome in the afternoon hours. I'll have more on that in that 7-day forecast coming up.
But generally speaking, we've been working this education issue. Let's be frank. This has been the biggest issue the last 2 years.
Schools remains in limbo after lawmakers failed to override the governor's veto of a bill that would have boosted per student spending by $1,000. We begin this morning with Capitol coverage and a closer look at House Bill 69.
Lawmakers ended up with what many described as a stripped-down version of the bill. No extra policy measures, just a flat funding increase. And for some legislators, that was a deal breaker.
The problem that needs to be solved is funding and policy to make it work. If you don't solve both, you don't solve the problem.
He promised on social media days earlier. Governor Mike Dunleavy followed through with a veto. On the same day, he introduced his own education funding bill, this one with a smaller increase to the base student allocation. So here's what some of the lawmakers had to say as they were getting ready to put their votes on the record.
We have a major budget deficit, not only in the current year that we are in, some $150 million, but we also have a substantial amount for the coming fiscal year. I do believe that and support a $1,000 BSA, but we need to first address the question of revenues.
Our current policy, as we know, is just not working. It's resulted in chaos. Our current education funding policy is one-time funding outside the base student allocation, and that has led to terrible public confidence in our schools, and it's led to not the achievement that we want to see with our children.
You know, they act like we've got $1.5 billion underfunded. It's no big thing, or we're $1 billion, or we're $500 million. That is a pile of money. And when we look at adding another $100 million or so cut out of our operations, we put it in today We take it out tomorrow in the Finance Committee and other areas. We don't have any choice. You know, it's.
And for the governor's own proposed education funding bill for the coming budget year, that legislation includes a $560 increase to the BSA.
His office says several other measures specific to correspondence programs and charter schools would cost about as much as $700 BSA increase. Well, just after minutes after lawmakers upheld the governor's veto of House Bill 69, the Anchorage School Board shifted focus to next year's budget during a work session. Also beginning today, they're identifying where displaced teachers and staff could be placed for the coming school year.
Anchorage, like many districts, now faces steep cuts. The board had hoped a $1,000 BSA boost would prevent layoffs, but without it, hundreds of full-time positions remain on the line. The board also addressed rumors of a hidden $88 million, clarifying that the funds are either restricted, already allocated, or reserved for emergencies.
It's just frustrating to watch this type of attack without any chance to correct it. If we can have a honest communication about funding, that's fine. And if they got areas to do, I'll concede if they find areas of issues, and I've got issues. But this thing of coming out with something without any communications, no back and forth information, totally wrong.
I appreciate what the administration's doing in terms of trying to make things work with the resources they have. I do think it's important that all of us remember that we're really dismantling the Anchorage School District at this point.
Nearly 200 staff members have already been notified of potential moves to other schools, and the deadline to issue layoff notices is May 15th. In the interior, the Mary Sy Recreation Center in Fairbanks is on the chopping block. Borough Assembly members voted to amend next year's budget to shut it down, though that move won't be final until the full budget passes. The center sparked debate in 2018 over high renovation costs, but public pushback kept it standing. Improvements were made in 2020 and 2021, and now the future of the facility is uncertain once again.
That 2 or 3 degree difference in water is a huge difference for the seniors and the children that use it for those facilities. So until we have a plan in place to replace it, I'm not going to be supporting closing it.
I think that we continue to put money into a facility that's on its last leg, and the money that we have put into this could have been put into a fund that could be used for our plan.
At that same meeting, Assembly members voted to keep the Carlson Activity Center and Joy Community Center open. The amended budget heads to a public hearing on May 1st with a final vote set for May 8th. If the plan to close the Mary Sy Center stays in place, it would shut its doors on July 1st. On Tuesday, a jury rejected Sarah Palin's second defamation lawsuit against the New York Times. The verdict came less than a week after the trial began and 2 years after Palin lost her first case against the paper. A federal appeals court ordered a retrial last August, ruling the judge dismissed the case too early. Palin initially sued in 2017, claiming an editorial wrongly linked her political action committee to the 2011 shooting of former Congresswoman Gabby Giffords. The jury ultimately found no proof that the Times acted with actual malice.
In Fairbanks, professionals who work in rural areas have spent 2 days training to respond to injuries and care for themselves and others. The goal is to save lives and ease the demand on medevac services.
Because we do have medevacs, they kind of incorrectly think that if you press your EPIRB, your InReach or something, like somebody's going to show up in a nanosecond. But you're probably going to have to sit tight for quite a while before somebody comes in and gets you.
Ajango says Alaskans without first aid training often rely too quickly on medevacs, and her class teaches outdoor workers to treat minor injuries and know when an evacuation is truly needed.
We go out to these very remote areas where there isn't always, a hospital nearby. There isn't always access to immediate care. So, that's one of the reasons why I wanted to take this class, just in case an emergency happens out there.
Although she's never encountered an emergency on the job, Tiller says the training has boosted her confidence in handling potential situations in the field.
Still ahead, veterans from across Alaska are now on a mission of healing, flying to the nation's capital to see the memorials built in their honor, the stories they carry, and the impact this trip is already having.
And a fountain of fire lights up Hawaii. Kilauea's latest eruption, it shoots lava hundreds of feet into the sky. The volcanic spectacle caught on camera next.
If you're looking for the return of 50s in the forecast, today may be the day for you. I'll let you know how warm we'll get across South Central, and of course some spotty activity still remaining. But first at sunrise, 6:12 in Anchorage, 5:23 in Juneau. The full forecast is next.
Well, good morning, everyone. Here on your Wednesday, Hawaii's active volcano is still at it.
This week, Kilauea put on an impressive show, sending lava 650 feet in the air. The U.S. Geological Survey says the lava is coming from the south vent, and 20% of one of the craters is covered in lava.
This is the 18th episode for this eruption, which began at the end of December of last year. Just pretty amazing to watch that Kilauea is that active.
Yeah, just keeps putting on a show, Aaron.
Yeah, and we are waking up this morning. Of course, we're still monitoring Spur, and as we were mentioning last week, we were seeing a slight decrease in some of that activity, but we continue to keep our eyes on any new updates. Looking at our temperatures across the state, we are certainly continuing to hold on to milder weather. Precipitation for South Central. You may have noticed that April has been a bit on the wetter side, considering that both February and March was a bit below average when it came to that rainfall potential. And of course, you can see here in April, we're sitting at about an inch above where we should be for this time of year, which where we're currently sitting at is the 5th wettest April on record. But when we're looking at the entirety of April as a whole, we're currently sitting at the 9th wettest at 1.23 inches of that rainfall accumulation, which is more than half of what we typically see during an April season. So it has been a wet one across the region, which is certainly welcoming, considering that we did see that lack of snowfall or that snowpack for a large portion of the winter season, which did lead to that wildfire threat as we welcomed in that early wildfire danger. Today, we are seeing that moderate wildfire threat across the vast majority of South Central. Now, this is denoting the highest fire danger for South Central. There is a low fire danger in the Anchorage Bowl and the Chugach National Forest, but that rain certainly has been beneficial. But with a stretch of some sunshine staying with us the next couple of days, it's going to dry out any of that vegetation that's still on those grounds. So we're still holding on to some spotty to isolated activity across South Central to start off the morning, but we are going to continue to hold on to a stretch of some drier weather heading our way. Notice across the Gulf Coast region, heavier rain building out towards southeast. This is where we could see the potential for up to an inch plus of rainfall from today on into your as we welcome in your Thursday, and then as we head out towards the Seward Peninsula, areas of Norton Sound, we're holding on to some of that spotty activity. But one thing we're watching this morning, winds on the backside of this low pulling in out of the northeast, so through the Bering Strait. We could see some gusty conditions throughout the day near Diomede Islands. So we could be watching for some of those winds gusting anywhere from about 20 to 40 miles per hour. Notice activity through the rest of this week largely staying confined to coastal areas, while inland locations, we'll see that mix of sun and clouds staying with us. We've got a nice stretch of weather staying with us the next couple of days. In fact, those temperatures will also be quite nice through the afternoon hours. We'll make a run into the upper 40s and lower 50s for the Anchorage Bowl. Across East Anchorage, we'll see that better shot for those temperatures to warm into the low to mid 50s, and we'll even see areas of the valley sitting on the warmer side. Looking at that sunshine today, notice we've got that mix of sun and clouds staying with us. A better shot for that sunshine will be through the afternoon hours before a bit more in the way of the cloud coverage arrives into the evening. Tomorrow may be the nicest day in terms of sunny weather. By Friday and Saturday, we are going to see that return to a bit more cloud coverage, but still nice and still seeing some peaks of sunshine. 40s and 50s across the Kenai. May see some breezy conditions overall, though. We're going to see that activity beginning to lighten up, about 1/4 inch of rain through Prince William Sound. Check out the valley. We've got those temperatures breaking into the mid-50s today, 54 in Wasilla, 52 degrees in Talkeetna. Here in Anchorage, 50 degrees, which means if you live along Muldoon, East Anchorage, that's where we're going to see those temperatures easily warming into the low to mid-50s later today. And in that 7-day forecast, you can see daily highs flirting with that. Largely on the dry side. Can't rule out some spotty activity, but we're watching some chance for some showers early next week.
All right. Thanks, Aaron. Well, after nearly 4 years in a shelter, one dog in Kodiak has finally found a family.
The long wait is over for Ace, and as Georgina Fernandez reports, he's wasting no time soaking up the love.
It's been a long time for this dog.
We call him Mr. Handsome.
1,463 days of waiting, to be exact.
the longer time went by, I'd have to say, yeah, we were really beginning to think that Ace would just spend out the rest of his days here.
That wait now finally over.
We just saw a dog who's been in the shelter for such a long time.
Ace, an almost 12-year-old dog with past reported behavioral quirks, was finally adopted.
He just fit right in.
By newlyweds, Michaela and Christian Weeks.
Well, look who's testing out the furniture. Our love that we had very strongly for each other, we can now channel to him.
The couple initially had plans to adopt from a litter, but when that did not work out,
what about this guy? Like, he's just so cute.
They decided to take a chance on short-term fostering Ace, despite some hesitation on having an older dog.
Our mindset of we're fostering lasted about like 12 hours.
Because with a personality and a face like this,
It filled like a spot in my heart that I didn't know was empty.
it's impossible not to fall in love with Ace.
Every gap that we thought a puppy could fill, he fulfilled and then surpassed
so
it.
much
Yes.
more. Oh my gosh.
As he showed them that despite his gray hair, age is really just a number.
He may look like he's 11, but he acts like a 1-year-old.
As he keeps them on their toes, bringing an energy and routine to their lives.
They go on runs together. He's brought such a routine that I cannot be without now.
All because of a chance they took on a senior dog.
I cannot imagine our day-to-day without Ace in it.
Ace fills a gap in their life, and they fill a gap in his.
This is his whole life. He may be a part of ours, but this is the rest of his life. It's full of happiness and love.
A gap they plan to keep filled. Georgianne Fernandez, Alaska's news source.
Thanks for listening to our podcast. Click subscribe so you can get the latest podcasts from Alaska's news source automatically and stay up to date with breaking news and in-depth reporting available for free 24/7 with the Alaska's news source app.